Hello guys, welcome to my channel. So today I'm gonna share the problem with jacket preheater pump motor which is having abnormal noise at the non-drive end. In engine room there are a lot of motors are installed, and to take care of this motor is the responsibility of electrical officer. During the daily round of electrical officer, one of the job of the ETO is to check these motors for abnormal noise, temperature and vibration. Therefore, these motors are being overhauled time to time as per PMS to avoid unexpected situation. As the non-drive end of this motor having abnormal noise, so I decided to open this motor and check the bearing. But there is a advice before opening any motor, check the bearing number either by number plate or in the manual, and always keep the inventory of these bearings as it will help you to find this bearing easily during motor overhauling. So before starting any motor overhauling, power off the breaker and do proper lockout and tag out. Make electrical isolation permit and also ask the engineer to do mechanical isolation. So the first job of the motor overhauling is to remove the electrical connection and ensure no power or residual power is present. Always mark the connection or take a photograph before removing the connection. So after removing the connection, I always mark the coupling of pump and motor side. This marking helped me motor installing back after overhauling. So we have to open the coupling bolts and disconnect the motor from the pump. So after disconnecting the motor from the pump, our next job is to remove the motor from the foundation. I have decided to take it to the workshop for the smooth overhauling. So first we'll remove coupling. Before removing coupling, always check how much coupling is inside with respect to shaft. And to measure, vernier caliper is the best tool to measure the distance. So to remove coupling, we have used bearing puller of proper size so that it should come easily. Sometimes this coupling are hard to come out even from bearing puller. So that time it is better to use gas torch or heat gun to heat the coupling before using puller. So after removing coupling, our next job is to remove the fan so that we can open both drive and non-drive end plates. Before opening end cover plate, mark at both sides of the plate. Motor is all about proper marking and using correct tools. This ensure correct reassemble, maintain operational balance and prevent errors, and also prevent premature failure of the motor. Also, this marking helps in correct orientation and positioning. So the next job after opening the plate is to remove the rotor. On board ship, almost all the motors are squirrel cage induction motor. Once the rotor is out, use proper size bearing puller to remove bearing. And if the motor is big, then hydraulic puller is the best option to remove bearing. After removing the bearing of one side, we remove the bearing of the other side. After removing the bearing, I inspected the non-drive end bearing and I found that this bearing was the reason of abnormal noise. Once you remove the rotor, always inspect the stator winding for the accumulation of moisture, dirt or dust. And if the windings are contaminated, then apply varnish on the stator winding and let it dry for some time. But if the windings are clean, then varnish is not required. After inspection of rotor and stator, let's renew both side bearing. For that, I'm gonna use bearing induction heater, where I will heat the bearing and put in rotor. In some ships, you will not find this bearing induction heater to heat the bearing, where you can also use heat gun or you can use lube oil to heat this bearing. So I'm gonna heat this bearing at 100-degree temperature, and it is a safety advice while heating the bearing. Always use Nomex gloves, that is welding gloves, for heat protection. And once the bearing is heated up at 100-degree temperature, you have to put this bearing quickly as possible. It is advised always keep one pipe with you, having diameter of the pipe as same as bearing inner diameter, because if the bearing does not fully situate against its designated end stop, then you can use this pipe and Teflon hammer to fit the bearing in end stop. But as you can see, using heating only, place the bearing inside the rotor easily. So after cleaning the end plate fan, inspecting the stator winding and bearing renewal, we're gonna reassemble the motor. And for reassemble the motor, I'm gonna use the marking which I did in the end plate cover. And once you put the end plate, always rotate the shaft to verify the shaft is freely moving. And if the shaft is moving, equally tight the end plate from all the sides. After that, I'm gonna put coupling back to the shaft. But before putting this coupling back to the shaft, it is advisable to heat it properly. I'm using heat gun to heat the coupling so that it should go freely into the shaft. And I don't need to hammer a lot. So after putting back the coupling, our motor is ready to install back. So we'll install the motor back, make proper tightening of the motor coupling and foundation base. Check its rotation first by hand. As the everything is good, so I made the connection back as per marking. And as this is a DOL starter, we can do mega test without removing the cables. By the way, I will make a separate video on how to do mega test on DOL starter and star delta starter. And whenever you are doing mega test, properly connect the earth cable to ground. And as you can see, our insulation reading is coming infinity. Along with mega test, it is advisable to do winding resistant test to ensure there is no open circuit or loose connection. And all the readings of the resistance across the windings should be same. So we started the motor after doing all the safety checks. Once the motor is running after overhauling, we usually do vibration test at the both non-drive end and drive end. Also, I check for any abnormal noise is present. Currently, our problem is being solved as there is no abnormal noise I heard from any end of the motor. And also, it is advised to check the temperature when the motor is running. So that's it guys for this video. I hope you have learned the procedures of motor overhauling. See you guys in the next video.